Another episode of the Retail Podcast. So I love talking retail. I love talking to people that are in the sector. And today I'm joined by Miriam Simon. And if you don't know her, check her out. Her LinkedIn will be just underneath. Miriam is a business strategist and retail expert. She's over 30 years experience in the retail industry in senior roles such as TK Maxx, Monsoon Accessories, Lifestyle Sports, and B&Q. She's really passionate about small businesses, and she founded the Retail Powerhouse in 2021, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. And the Retail Powerhouse, it gives live masterclasses from retail industry experts alongside commercial trading tips and support to really help nurture small businesses grow and really thrive in the marketplace. She's highly experienced and qualified. Once you hear Miriam talk about retail, you'll really know where her niche is and how actually strong she is on the strategy piece. She does courses in it. She's also, I think, a director, or is she in the directors? She's in the Institute of Directors as well, and she's also in the Drogheda District Chamber of Commerce. She gives loads of different talks. Her website is just underneath. Definitely check her out. She's on LinkedIn as well. I came across Miriam a long time ago, and I love listening to her speak. I love hearing her talk about retail, and she's really interested in insights, especially on, I suppose, the innovation piece within retail and the tech piece within retail. Starting from the beginning, Miriam, I suppose, when you left your kind of retail career and you're going to set up your business now that it is. Can you talk us through that, I suppose, a little bit? Miriam, would be great.
The process of going, I kind of accidentally went into business. So I had a lot of people who told me, my husband included, said I should go out on my own, and I wasn't brave enough. And it was actually a little bit of fate. My dad got very ill, and he lived in the UK. And in order to be able to um be there for him and to move backwards and forwards, I needed to be in more control of what I was doing. And I at the time I was used to being in these really big corporate roles, but you know yourself, they're so all consuming that they're 24/7. You can't just disappear for a week here because somebody has treatment, or whatever. So I kind of my first year in business was a complete washout because I didn't have a clue what I was doing, didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a bit lost. I was trying to deal with the whole family thing. So I accidentally fell into business, should I say. And so year one, not great. Got a mentor about halfway through year one who was exceptional, and gave me a kick up the bum and gave me a little bit of structure. And I think I took 80% of my turnover for my first year in business in the last 4 months of the year, once I had a rhythm and routine sorted. And then the last lot of years has been, the more I've just lent into the things that I enjoy, and I do what I enjoy, the better business has been. So and that might sound like it's a pin money business, and it's not. I am the main breadwinner. It's a serious business that I run, but I really believe that life is too short. And so I have probably a little bit of a patchwork business. I do lots of things that I really enjoy. And I find that because I'm doing lots of different things, that actually makes me more valuable to my clients because I have I have a wider perspective. I hope that makes sense. That might sound a bit random, but I do lots of different things. So I work with retailers. I do a little bit of work in the digital space. I'm a complete Luddard myself, by the way. So I am really nerdy and fascinated by what's going on, but my technical abilities myself are absolutely sugar honey iced tea. But so I lean into that. I do a bit of work with European Innovation Council, and what's, that gives you really huge macro trends of what's coming down in the world. You get to see through that. And then I do a bit of work with Enterprise Ireland, mentoring. I do some work with Fáilte around tourism. So and I do a bit of corporate work around executive and board structure and coaching, or not really more mentoring people who are in first level board appointments. So it's a real patchwork, but it actually really works for me. Do you know, it really works for me. My main business is my one-to-one clients.
Yeah.
So that would be the chunk of my business. But the other things are equally as valuable in what I gain from them, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose what there's people listening to this, I suppose, Miriam, and they might be feeling that they're a little bit lost. They're in business, maybe they're feeling it's not the right fit, it's not, bringing them where they want to go to. Was there any kind of light bulb moments or realizations when you were in business that you said, do you know what? Like what kind of gave you that direction, I suppose? Because you did say you felt a little bit lost. Was
you
there any
know,
kind
absolutely. That first year, so I went out and I thought, well, do you know what? I have this huge retail career and I'm commercial, so I'll just become a consultant. Do you know, that's what I thought I would do. And first of all, and well, I did the obligatory. It feels almost like a rite of passage. I went and I did my 140 hours of coaching, supervision to be qualified as a formal executive coach. So I did that all first, and that taught me that I'm actually, coaching is a tool that I might use, but I'm that's not what I want to do for a living. It's just a tool that I would use. Um, for me, I was sort of went out and I was looking for consultancy work and business advisory work, and it was all a little bit fluffy and loose. And by the time you got the gig with the company, you'd already done more work than they were going to pay you for to get the gig, and it was just too hard, and I wasn't enjoying it. So the best advice I can give is find something that you're really good at or that you really enjoy, and those two things do tend to be the same thing quite often. So, they really do. So find something that you're good at and you really enjoy it, and lean into that, because the more, I think I'm good because I love it, not because, do you know what I mean? I'm a bit,
of
I love it.
yeah.
So a lot of work doesn't feel like work, So I think that's what it's about. And I love that I'm still involved in retail, and I work with 6 formal clients a year on a one-to-one. And then I have the retail powerhouse, which I love too, because that's the SME side of retail, and it's great. Some of our greatest innovators in retail are SMEs these days. We saw the pandemic flipped the power, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
because these guys can move faster. So that's really cool. But I love getting external perspective. So I network with a lot of non-retail people. So, I have good friends that are in construction, that it might be in recruitment, that might be in, I don't know, all different types of industries. And if I need perspective on my business, I usually go outside my own industry to look for it, because you can be in an echo chamber when when you're a retailer. You go to conferences and you just talk to other retailers, and that's got some value, but actually quite often it's very good to get a perspective from a different industry, I find. So that first year I was really lost. I was trying to be a consultant. I didn't know what a consultant was. I was and it was just really hard work getting paid, because people hear the word consultant and they think, gosh, that's really expensive, So the first couple of clients were the hardest to land, and I think there's a bit of a rite of passage in that, because those first clients that I landed are still with me. Can I just say, all of these years later, because they well, they probably got a brilliant deal, but business, especially when you are self-employed, is really very much about trust. So it's about really thinking about what you can do for the business that you're working with, rather than for yourself. And I see a lot of, I do a lot of mentoring, and I see a lot of really talented people who don't do that well, and it's because they're thinking about what's in it for them instead of what's in it for the people that they're helping. So I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, I think there's actual gold in what you're saying,
Yeah,
because it's about giving people more in use value than they're giving you in monetary value.
absolutely. It's
Yes.
about value, not cost. It's about value, not
Exactly.
cost. And actually trust is also really important.
Mm.
So I do think that it is, I mentor all different levels of businesses, and you can see there are some businesses where the sale is the most important part, the chase is the most important part to them, and that's a recipe for disaster. So the focus should not be on the pipeline, and the focus should be on the absolute quality of the relationships that you're building. And actually the more that you do for other people, and again, this is a fine line, the more generous you are, the more lucky you become, I have to say. And I have truly experienced that. So
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson for anyone. Because I think what you said there, the generosity, and I think the trust, that trust piece, and I think this is where it's hard with people that are probably starting up or trying to get money into their business. That takes time. You
yeah.
know, you don't get someone's trust really quick. You have to build that relationship up and nurture it. And I think that's where, you get that trust over time. And that takes, yeah.
I agree, and I think probably if gosh, this is really harder conversation than I was expecting it to be. I think that first year in business,
Mm.
you probably need to over really like I probably still try and over deliver. I probably do a lot more than, because particularly when somebody takes a retainer with me, I try and in that very first meeting, I will try and pay for that whole retainer for them. So they walk away from the very first meeting going, do you know what? Even if we don't do the rest of the 6 months or the year, I've already had my value here. So I probably am very much about, if you give me for 10, I'll give you for 100, so it's about over delivering. But I actually just really enjoy what I do. So it doesn't feel like work a lot of the time. I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky. And I'm really sorry I didn't go into business much sooner than I did. In hindsight, that's the only regret.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you came out, you were a little bit foggy. You said you done a little bit of mentoring and coaching and stuff.
I did. Now, so I probably had been inadvertently pivoting for about 10 years. So
Wow.
so when I was with back when I was with TK Maxx. So TK Maxx was kind of, it was amazing business.
Mm.
And I was their AVP for Ireland, and it was huge turnover, and it was kind of my devil's advocate years, I call it, because that business owned me, and it was very dynamic. I loved it. I did a great job for them. We grew the business tremendously. I learned a lot from them. Operationally, they were exceptional. Um, but what that it felt very much, it was a big American corporation, and it was all about money. And to offset that, I started to mentor for Enterprise Ireland so that I could feel that I was doing something that wasn't to give something back, if that makes sense, to create a bit of balance. So, and I've been mentoring for Enterprise Ireland probably for about 12 or 13 years now, actually possibly even longer. And that was to do something that was business related, but that was a bit that wasn't just about paying the bills. It was actually about feeling good about myself. And so that would have been back in 2007, 2008. I would have started doing that. And I really enjoyed it. But what it did was it opened a door to things that weren't retail for the first time. Because so again, I was an accidental in retail. I was supposed to be doing an accountancy degree, and I took a year out to get the money together to pay for my digs, and took a retail trainee manager position. And then, I didn't go back to do the degree until a company paid for it like many years later.
Yeah.
So I think what happened was TK Maxx, I started mentoring, and that took me into people who were creating products for the first time, which was a different aspect of retail. And then slowly we started to see a lot of tech stuff coming through, and then that led me into, so I started to mentor more and more for them throughout my career. So even though I'd be in a corporate job, I would give so many hours a week to mentoring small emerging businesses. And in hindsight, that was probably the beginning of a pivot that,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was the breadcrumbs nearly that led you back. Yeah.
and probably helped me to have the confidence to go
Yeah.
out on my own, because I had experience that was outside. Because when you're in those big corporate jobs, you're very cushioned. I'm going to regret saying that. Like when I was with TK Maxx, for example, I had a PA. I had somebody who did my emails. If I needed to present something, somebody else would prepare it. I didn't need to do an awful. Somebody would come and collect you and drive you places, because they just needed you to be on and 100% all of the time. It was real pow pow pow, and that was great. But then when I went out into business on my own years later, I was thinking, there's loads of skills I don't. How the hell do I pull an Excel spreadsheet together? I had to learn how to do really basic functional, tools. That's that got, like modern world problems. But so there was there was almost I had lots of knowledge, but I needed to learn how to do really basic things. I needed to learn how do I pull a spreadsheet together so I can manage my own accounts? How do I, create a document so that I can send somebody an invoice? So I'm looking back and realizing how absolutely rubbish I was at the beginning.
I love your honesty. Do you know what I mean? Because there is real authenticity in what you're saying, Miriam. Do you know what I mean? And I think so many people can resonate with that. That you do go out and you might have an idea of it, but it's never 100% what you think it's going to be until you actually go out and do it. You never know, and it's not. No.
It's really not. No. And being a small business is a small business. So I remember when I went out, everybody wanted to meet me, and everybody was trying to sell me things, and I didn't have any money. So it was kind of like a bartering thing that kind of emerged in that first year. People would say, "Oh, let me tell you how to message," and I was like, "Well, I don't have the money to give you to tell me how to message. Give me something up front." So there's that push pull in that. I feel. I think we should give medals to people who got. The supports are really good, to be fair, but I think the awareness of what supports are there are not great. We don't, like, I would have used a lot more supports if I'd have been aware that they were there in that first year.
Yeah.
And in the end, I actually bit the bullet, and I paid a really fabulous mentor to mentor me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think mentors are, and I think coaches and stuff like that. And you touched on the word, and I love the word perspective, because it not only comes into probably my personal, but also my professional life quite a lot, and my family life, believe it or not. We talk a lot about it within my immediate family, but I think a mentor and a coach is giving you a level of perspective of getting out of your own head that sometimes is needed, because we can get in our own way.
Absolutely, you can, and the more perspectives you can get, the better. And there's a lot of truth. So perspective is everything. I do believe that everything happens for you, do you know? So and that make me sad. I have not had this lovely little cushy life, do you know? But even the bad stuff, you know, it's usually the path to something else. So I do genuinely have a lot of faith that things happen for you, not to you. And I think that's a really important perspective to have, particularly if you are in business. You know, I think you need to have a little bit of trust in yourself and your decision making. So I think there's a little bit of that as well, do you know?
Yeah, I think it's strange, I think, because I think when I don't know about you, Miriam, but I think for myself, like working for retail companies and different size businesses from franchises, family run to large multinationals, that you are in an environment, right, where you are being looked after, right? And then
Yeah,
you go out on your own. And I think the biggest thing for me was mindset. A huge thing was mindset, was
yeah,
actually figuring out how I actually get in the way. And it was funny because, working for companies, my performance would have been quite high, Miriam. So if you said to me, oh, sure, set up my own bit, I'd have that same performance.
yeah.
But it's different because we're actually being presented with different things, different challenges. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And do you know, and this might sound a bit woo-woo, but just before I made the jump, I actually did a course in meditation. And it was something that I would never have considered. If you'd have said that to me 3 or 4 years before, you know, go and do a course in transcendental meditation, I'd have gone, oh, that's a bit woo-woo. You know, you'll be asking me to levitate next. And I went to do it, and I absolutely and I'm very well schooled. I have done, like, I've been trained with an inch of my life by lots of big corporates. You know, Burton Group more or less put me through school. You know, I I've had immense training and money invested into me over the years. But probably um the best money I ever spent was this money to go and learn how to meditate. And that was really about quite, you know, it's Shane Craddock talks a lot about, he's a mentor, and he talks a lot about the snow globe that is our head. And, you know, the snowflakes are always going, and you just need to let the snow settle. And it's an amazing analogy, really. And meditation really helped me to settle a very busy mind so that I could think with real clarity and get right to what I needed. So from a life skill point of view, it's not business training, but from a life skill point of view, it was probably the best investment I ever made.
I think that the difference is when you're working in a company, your your own personality doesn't come into it as much as when you start up your own business, because
Absolutely.
you are the business, you are the personality. The business is you, and you are and it's really strange to say it, but for me anyways, by God, did I figure out how, how, in the nice way, how flawed in a way, right, my brain operates in the best way possible. Because I figured out, God above Louise, like I was kind of going, my focus, I really had to, and go back to what you said there, not until I left working for companies did I realize how busy my mind actually is. Because it's not until you don't have that, a marketing department pushing promotions, a buying
Yeah.
department where you go sort out my min
Yeah.
maxes, you have a team around you. So you don't identify, I suppose, the areas that you need to focus on within yourself as much as when you do go out and set up your own business, that you're going, Jeannie Mac, I need to sort this out. Yeah, this needs, I need to get better at this, or I need to figure out why I'm operating in this capacity in order to, to get better, and it could be a focus thing, it could be a clarity thing.
Yeah.
It could be that you love new, you could be jumping from one thing to the next. So you're not finishing the first thing you start. And, all these kind of little things that kind of get in the way, really, sometimes when you're trying to get things done. But it's really interesting. You learn a lot about yourself, I think, as a person.
You do, you absolutely do. You learn a lot about how you react
Yeah.
when the chips are down as well, and how you react when there's stress, because you don't have that security net.
Mm.
And I think it's more about not getting in your own way then, and not, you know, a lot of it is about faith, actually. That sounds, and I don't mean that in a religious way. I just mean in a um belief. And like, I think if you're reasonably with it, and you are focused on living, um my goal in life is to live an authentic life, and to be true to myself. And I'm in business because I want to work with people that I want to work with, and I want to do things that interest me, because if they interest me, I'll be excited about them, and therefore I'll be good at them naturally, so. And if I can live an authentic life, then that's a good life, and that means that I will get more and enjoy more of my life. I did have a phase where for about 20 years, I was in board roles. I was running these very, very large companies. And I felt that I was doing a great job, and when you're in these big jobs, everything is urgent, and everything is urgent, and because you're on the hamster wheel, and you don't realize until you come away from it that it's not really urgent. When you're in it, it's urgent, everything's urgent, and everything is so. I think the greatest thing anybody can do for themselves is to live a life that is authentic for them, and it's not all about having jolly holidays and doing things you like, but it's about being authentic to yourself, and authentic to your values. And I think if you do that, that's as close to a good life as I would hope for anyway. Do you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's really interesting about the values piece, because, and beliefs, and the
Yeah.
role they're playing in your life at the moment, and the role they'll play in what will bring about what you're going to get further down the road, whether you
Yeah.
attract that towards you, whether you want. And there's a really good book called Aligned, and a lady called Hortense Legentier wrote it, and she was on the podcast before. And what I loved about the book, Miriam, was that she talked around. She was at a CEO level in a large manufacturing company, and she just wasn't happy.
Mm.
She had all the money in the world, but she just felt there was something missing. There was that kind of hole. There was something missing there. Um, and when she went back and looked back in her childhood and followed those little breadcrumbs to see
Yeah.
what brought passion and happiness inside within her and made her excited, it was horse riding. And
Wow.
what was about the horse riding was connecting and the
Yeah.
relationships. So she went into coaching because it was a relationship piece. But I just think it's interesting what you're saying around values and beliefs, because when we feel that we're a little bit lost sometimes, I think, and we're not doing work that maybe gives us that level of fulfillment that we would want to have. There's little breadcrumbs there, and it's about joining the dots, and doing what you done, and seeing where those moments that
Yeah.
were you were happy, and you got a little, you said the mentoring and stuff like that you really enjoyed,
Yeah.
that it's there, but we're just not maybe seeing it. Um,
Also, like, I think there's a lot. Oh God, I'm sounding all like new age here, and that
oh no, I
wasn't
love
my
it.
intention. But there's a lot to be said about, if you're feeling lost, go and do something for somebody else,
Mm,
because it's probably, there is huge benefit in generosity, and there's huge benefit in doing something for somebody else without expecting anything in return, and because you do get something. It's the whole giver's gain thing. Do you know what I mean? So if you're lost, the best thing you can do is go and volunteer and do like that. When I was lost, I did a lot more voluntary work, if that makes sense. I
Yeah,
did,
I love that. It's so
yeah.
interesting you said that. Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, it is
And
true.
it
Mm,
is true, and
definitely, yeah.
again, it's about having a rich life, and a rich life isn't necessarily all money. Do you know what I mean? If you have enough, you have enough, as long as you've got enough. But it's more about um having a rich and fulfilled life. So I would say, that first year of business when you're out on your own, it's really tough. I've had a few ex-colleagues that have done it, and I've tried to be first in line to help them, to make it easier for them than it was for me,
Yeah,
because the more you can do that, the better. That first year in business is tough, when people, especially for people who have gone out unexpectedly, or it wasn't a major plan, and that happens a lot. Actually, it happens a lot, believe it or not. You know you're a bright young thing, but I do see a lot of people who they'll hit a certain age in the boardroom, and suddenly they're not feeling as welcome there, so and so they may pivot, and there's that's not what I do for a living, is help people with career pivots, but I have done so over the
yeah,
years. But I do think it is that there is a piece there around finding out who they are and leaning into that a little bit more.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I suppose moving on from that, I suppose you started up, you've those fantastic clients that you said. You started the retail powerhouse in 2021, Miriam. How did that come about? Was that an idea you had in your head? Was that something that,
Purely accidental.
okay, the
So
accidental. Yeah,
what was I going to say? And it's not. I do it because I enjoy it. I don't. I
yeah,
make very little. It's not really a big chunk of business for me.
yeah,
But I love it. So what happened in 2020 was that. So I didn't say before. So when I first went into business, I sort of veered away from retail, and then slowly came back to it because it's what I know. And then in 2020, when the shit hit the fan with the pandemic, pardon my language, um, I got asked to help lots of groups of retailers all over the country. So I found that from a corner of my living room, I was doing lots of Zooms and presentations about, right, this is how to not go belly up. This is how to keep money coming in. And I was doing talks all over the country: Waterford, Donegal, Sligo, um, everywhere, like dozens and dozens and dozens of talks. And my phone was going nonstop. But these were SME retailers that were, they might have one store, and and maybe it's a store they inherited and it had been in the family, or it was one store they were running. And a lot of these guys, we forget how fast this digital revolution has been. So in 2020, most retailers that were at that level, a lot of them would not have had a website. And a lot of them would not have even been on Facebook, let's be honest, because these were traditional SME retailers. So my phone was going nonstop, and I was finding, because you want to help people, you don't want people to lose their business. So I was like on the phone for like 16, 17 hours a day. And I was like, this is not sustainable. So the retail powerhouse came about from a point of view of I was having the same conversation 20 times a day. Let's have the same conversation once, and help everybody, at the same time. And so that's how the retail powerhouse came about. And then I had some great, I know lots of people in retail. So I would make it my business to find out, right, if these guys are going to be on Instagram, who can I get who's going to make sure they're good on Instagram? Or if they're going to be doing live videos from a closed shop during a lockdown, and who can I get that will show them how to do that well? And then I'm there to give them the right, because I'm quite good at spotting the trends and spotting what's going to happen from a trading point of view before it does. So I would be there from a point of view of, right, let's talk trading strategy. So the whole idea was it's really to give these guys a support. And then it's at the beginning, it was totally free. And then we put a small nominal fee on it so that people would value it, because there has to be some value, if that makes sense. But it's a very low cost monthly fee. So it sort of evolved out of a need that was there at the time. So and we still do. We meet twice a month. We do once a year. I'll do a retail safari, and there's the obligatory Facebook group, and we have a group and a problem solving group as well. And I would keep these guys really up to speed. So and actually, what's been really interesting is how much. There's so much amazing innovation emerging in Ireland that has come from the pandemic onwards. We're seeing amazing innovation, and to be fair, I know it's not cool to say the government does good things, but the response to the pandemic for retail was actually pretty good. Between the trade and online vouchers and the mentoring that was available, the supports were really good, and we're beginning to see the innovation that's come out of that. And these indies SME retailers, a lot of them are the first to adapt the new technology. So you're seeing you're seeing small businesses that are actually doing things that are a little bit more nimble than a lot of the big guys, because they don't have to convince 36 shareholders and stakeholders. They can just move with it. And a lot of the new innovation is, a website used to be a really clunky, expensive thing, and you can actually do a pretty good website reasonably inexpensively now. And a lot of the innovation that's coming through are bolt-ons that are just plug-in and plays. So we're seeing that the small retailers that are with it and are commercial are actually more adaptable and more able to survive than the big guys. And we've borne witness to that over the last 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. That's such a great service to give them, Miriam, because I think from my own experience speaking to independents that I would kind of work with ISME, a lot of them, and this is only from my own perspective, can get kind of tunnel vision because they're in their own shop, their own independent. And
absolutely,
many of the times, I think what's great about the group that you have, many times, if we just had more conversations with other people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, the same place, but as in even our neighbors on the road, even the other street,
absolutely,
the high street, just talking to even the cafes, the hospitality and retail have so many different they have so many similarities.
they do.
Kind of coming together and talking about, well, we're not getting a lot of traffic in the street. Could we maybe go to the council and talk about maybe having a free hour parking, for whatever mums that are going to, different kind of things we can come up with to support one another, because I think it is about that kind of support and bringing people together and collaborating more.
And I think prior to the pandemic, you would have seen a lot of retailers would have been like, no, I'm not sharing anything I'm doing, and I'm not going to tell you where to get good packaging because or I'm not going to tell you about this because if you take that €10, oh God, I could have had that €10. And I think that mentality is a lot less now. I think people realize that there is much more power in networks and much more power in groups. And we saw some of the small retailers that we started working with in that first lockdown had really high double-digit growth, despite their shops being closed for a big chunk of that year. Really high double-digit growth year on year. So I think the power of networks is very strong. The power of collaboration and working with other business, and again, it's about talking to, just because somebody else is a retailer in your town doesn't mean that they're in competition with you. Do you know, it's about working together. What is it they say? You know, the tide raises all boats, so to speak. So it is about the common good and working together. And I've really seen in the retail powerhouse, you know, I've boutiques in there, and there'll be somebody will ask a question, and one of the more experienced boutiques will be the first one in to say, no, this is, do this, and this. And they really do help each other out. I've seen members of the group. There was one boutique that was growing, and one of the other boutiques took them on a buying trip with them. So I've seen some amazing collaboration. So I think the more you can be, you know, a little bit more open. It's not about being totally open, but a little bit more open and a little bit more collaborative in how you're going to work. I think the better. And hospitality, and also the beauty industry, and like, in my opinion, everybody is retail. If you're in business, you're in retail because you're transacting. You know, so we're all retailers essentially. So yeah, I think that is the real value of it. To be fair.
Yeah, bringing people together. Yeah. I suppose going into kind of trends that you're seeing, and obviously you talk a lot about this, Miriam. A lot of your kind of your content, even online, is around, I suppose, retail trends, things that you're seeing. I think I seen one of your posts where there was a little kind of a hologram person
Yeah.
sitting on, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And I was going, wow, talk about wowing the customers, you know what I mean? It's at another level. Can you maybe share kind of a couple of things that you see coming down the line that maybe retailers maybe need to look into, or maybe ones that you feel are going to really, really be taken off?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer this in two parts. The first part is that we are in this digital revolution, right? And it's moving really faster than anything we've ever seen before. So if I just talk you through the timeline, so 2020, a lot of retailers will have got online for the first time, will have got on social media for the first time. So 2020 was about get a digital footprint quickly, get a website, get yourself on Facebook and Instagram. 2021 was the year of virtual reality. So the Oculus headset, Meta bought the Oculus headset. It was all about virtual reality. 2022, we couldn't stop talking about the metaverse. So it was all about the metaverse, and then Facebook rebranded to Meta, and we were all going to be living in the metaverse. And then this year, all we're talking about is AI. So AI is all we're talking about this year. And it's all really interconnected. So next year, we will be talking about mixed reality. So we saw the goggle glasses come out earlier this year, and they were really expensive, and the mixed reality glasses. But next year, we're going to see 2 or 3 of these glasses emerge in the market that will be more affordable, that will have better battery life. And over the next couple of years, mixed reality will be this link. So where, you know, you wearing your glasses like this, and you'll talk to your glasses, and then they'll give you the instructions up in the top corner. This all sounds like the Minority Report movie. But it is actually happening, and it's happening really quickly. And I would say by the end of this decade, we will probably not be using these so much, because it will be wearables. It'll be glasses that we're wearing, or the watch that we're wearing, or a mixed reality is going to be the thing that helps take it forward, I think. So that's just to give you, we're on this really fast progression of digital, but from a really practical taking money point of view, which is actually what I'm really about. And because all of that flash, that's all just flash, me nerding out at what's happening. But there are 4 things I would say that retailers need to be looking at now. And I actually only got asked this question last week. So the first one is marketplaces. So if you think over a third of all sales online in the world at the moment are happening on marketplaces. I think it's 35% was the last call. So if you are not looking at marketplaces as a secondary income channel, you're missing a beat here. And the problem is it's going to get harder and harder and harder to compete with these marketplaces. So you kind of need to be in the game, so to speak. So digital marketplaces are going to be a really big deal. TikTok. So we've been saying for the last year, you need to get on TikTok, need to get on TikTok. It's not just for kids. It's not just for kids. The Amazon Prime sale that happened in the middle of July there was a record Amazon Prime sale. But a huge amount of the search, this is where the consumer trend changed. A huge amount of the search for what to buy happened on TikTok. So what we're beginning to see, we're seeing two things here from a behavior point of view. We're seeing that TikTok is now emerging as a major search engine for what's on trend or what's the best. Or so if you are somebody that sells, Kettler barbecues or or something like that, you want to make sure that you have TikTok so that if somebody is searching, you will appear on TikTok. So TikTok is now emerging as a search engine. But the second thing that it's also taught us is that the consumer wants more entertainment. So they're not happy to scroll. So we know that static images don't do anything for people on social media anymore. It's all about video now. But it's actually not even all about video now. It's all about entertainment. So if you are not on TikTok, you need to get a presence on TikTok. And then the final thing I'll say about TikTok is that it is highly likely they have watched all of this activity that led to all of those amazing record sales for Amazon. They're not going to sit there and continue to do that. They're going to want to do something themselves. So we're going to see TikTok become more commercially a marketplace itself. So TikTok. So number one, marketplaces. Number two, TikTok. Number three, WhatsApp shopping. I think that's going to arrive very soon also. So if I was a retailer now and I had an email database and I had done all of the other things, I would be beginning to harvest WhatsApp details, and I would be talking to customers to saying, join our WhatsApp group now, so that when Meta go live with WhatsApp shopping, I'm ready to be a first mover. Because actually WhatsApp shopping has the capacity to be absolutely enormous. You just send a text and you purchase something. So I would be ready to be a first mover on that. And then the fourth thing I would do is I would start to think about and look at voice recognition, because as humans, we are becoming lazier and lazier and lazier. So we went from writing emails, now we like text and Slack and texting, and now it's voice chipping. And, so voice recognition, I think will be really, really key. So the first couple of years of the pandemic was really about getting online and having a good functioning website. It's now about softening that and making it less functional and more warm and more like being in store. So I do think we're going to see lots of bolt-ons. Like if you ever any of my talks, I give lots of examples of these. So if you look at my social media, you'll see lots of examples of these amazing plug in and play that actually just really enhance that whole online experience as well as the store experience, which is now more important than ever, may I also say. But yeah, so voice recognition, WhatsApp, marketplaces, and TikTok. Those would be four things I would have very high on my radar if I was a retailer now.
Yeah, really interesting. And
I probably could have answered that a lot faster. I'm so sorry.
No. It is, but it's interesting because I see it as well. I think where content should be, and it goes back, I suppose, to the kind of core element is, we buy through stories, we buy through emotional connections. And when we create content where we connect with the customer and engage with them in a meaningful way, that product is, and there was some statistic actually was really interesting around, I can't remember the exact percentage, Miriam, at the top of my head, but it was around we're always shopping subconsciously. So even if I'm scrolling on my phone, just because I'm not, walking into, we're always shopping. We're always looking for things to buy. And I think a really good one was this kind of thing. And I just think Amazon do it really well. And I'd love to see more SMEs doing it where you can put things in your basket. And they're doing this in the States a lot. And it's saved in the basket for when you get paid. So you can buy
Yeah.
it later. So having that function available on your app, your store, whatever it is, your website, that I can put it in my favorites or store for later
Absolutely.
for when I get paid. And I just thought
Absolutely.
like it's things like that that we're, my wish list or whatever that might be, that I'm going to come back and buy it again, that
And
we're
but
that's a
you
user friendly, function.
that's a really good idea. There also is, what we are seeing is everything has become more and more and more instant. So if you
Yes.
look at how we pay for things compared to how, you used to like have to, I couldn't tell you how many websites I'd like nearly wanted to throw my laptop out the window because it took so long to
Yeah.
make it set. Now it's like tap and gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything is instant. So actually you'll find that there'll be a lot of businesses that don't want you to put it in a wish list basket, because then you've got time to consider it. Do you know what I mean? And this is this is maybe one of the depends on which side of the coin you're looking at. This is maybe one of the dangers with AI from a commercial point of view, that our ability to critically think is diminishing a little bit here, because the algorithms know us too well. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
So it's as a watching
yeah.
it. I'm watching it um with fascination and trepidation in equal measures. So
Mm, yeah. And I think it's really interesting what you said, because I think those trends are really coming from what those customers and what the market is telling us. And I think a lot of the time I see where the issue is that retailers or businesses actually lose sight to what their customers actually want. What would make it an easier shopping experience? So, would it
absolutely.
be an easier shopping experience and a more enjoyable one if we were to put it in the basket, because maybe they don't get paid till the end of the month, or maybe they get paid on a Friday and they're looking at it on a Monday and they don't have the money in there. So, are we looking at it from that perspective? And I think if we done a little bit more around that, a little bit
Yeah.
more around our research, a little bit more around making it as seamless as possible to buy. So if you have the QR code in the window display and they're passing by and you have the whole outfit there,
Yeah.
they can go into a basket and that they can come back and buy,
Absolutely.
use
And
my
and
yeah,
and good retail is all about removing obstacles at the end of
yes,
the day. It's
yeah.
about removing any obstacles. So that is good retail. And if you're making it hard for your customer to purchase, then like come on. Like but I think what tends to happen, and
Mm,
it happens in all sizes of businesses, is that what happens is you forget the customer's perspective somewhere on the journey, and you're just thinking about your own perspective, and that's when things tend to go wrong. That's when things go wrong. So it's about keeping the customer perspective first and foremost.
yeah, and we're back to that word perspective again, which I love.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it comes into so many different elements. I love that. I love that there is a theme, and I love it.
yeah,
Within. It's been really great talking to you today, Miriam. We've talked about loads of different things. I think there's loads of great insights, from mindset to journeys to
yeah.
looking at your own journey, looking at the outside, looking at the marketplace. And it was really great to have you on the podcast today. Where can people find you, Miriam, that they're going, okay, I really want to book her in. I really want to get a chat. Where can people reach out to you on?
You can go online to miriamsimon.ie and drop me a message, and we're pretty responsive. Um, or you'll catch me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, again, miriamsimon.ie. But yeah, no, nice chatting with you. Tough chat, actually. Tough chat. Usually people just want to talk shop. So thank you.
Thanks
I
a
think.
million. Thanks so much, Miriam. It was lovely to have you on. I'll have Miriam's links just underneath. Give her a follow, check out her content, and reach out to you for any questions. She's full of wisdom in the retail space. Thanks so much for coming on, Miriam.
I know, listen, thank you.